What if I told you that this video is not about electric cars? Because it really isn't. It's because of something I think that we're slowly losing, and I feel like there is not many people talking about that. My name is Patrick and I'm running this YouTube channel that you are currently watching. I'm 26 years old, and for the first time in my life I feel like I'm in a position where I can financially afford some of the cars that you looked up to when you were younger. For example, the likes of an Audi R8, a Porsche 911, 997 generation, or maybe even, if we stretch it a little bit, a Ferrari 458. But these cars are just continuing to increase in value, and that is due to the fact that we're no longer producing cars like these. The V8s, the flat sixes, the V12s, the V10s, all of these cars are being discontinued at a very, very fast rate. And this impacts value of the cars that already exist, and it makes it super difficult for people like me growing up now to kind of being able to afford them, because they're always being pushed and pushed and pushed, and the value are just increasing at a dramatic speed. And I feel that's really, really sad. So today I wanted to ask you one question. Are we losing what made cars special? Think about the first car that made you stop and stare. It was probably not the most expensive car. It was probably not the fastest car. But there was something special about that car that made you stop and stare. Whether it was the looks, the sound, or maybe something else. Maybe even the feeling if you were able to drive or be on board that car. For me, the cars are special due to a few things. For example, the sound, the vibrations when you push the engine, the feeling that you get when you're taking a corner, and just getting the feedback back from the car. That is a few things that just makes it super, super fun and nice to drive. Or a manual gearbox, smashing the gears yourself, not letting the automatic do it. Just feeling more engaged in the drive. It's like every car has their own personality, and that's why I think we're getting attached to them that so easily. You could recognize some cars with your eyes closed, and that is something I think kind of describes the uniqueness and the special feeling about these cars that I will be mentioning in this video, and probably is for a lot of you guys. Now, the automotive industry is changing at a rapid speed, and it's nothing that we can kind of control. There is the electrification that I know brings a lot of heated arguments and a lot of topics to talk about, but I don't necessarily think that electric cars are bad. I think they serve a purpose, and I think they are here at the right time. Environments are changing and the world is changing, and we need to adopt, and that is nothing that I kind of push away for. But I also feel that we don't have to change everything. There is, of course, a customer base that wants these electric cars and feel like they suit them very well. And I think for daily driving, for example, commuting to work, back and forth, those are situations where an electric car are the superior choice. However, when we're talking about the car community and the car gurus and the kind of petrol heads, like I would consider myself being, we are losing some of that personality that a car brings, and that is sad, because it affects quite a lot. And as I said in the earlier part of the video, that I'm currently 26 years old. I am now in a state where I'm able to kind of purchase the supercars of my childhood. But as we are no longer creating these cars, we're no longer building V12s, V10s, V8s, etc. we're moving more and more over to the electrification part, it means that the demand for these older cars are increasing, which also means then that the values of these cars are increasing, making it very, very hard for me and probably a lot of other people in my age or even older to obtain these cars. And that's the sad truth. We are moving away from the combustion engine and we're moving over to electrification. And yeah, there's always mixed feelings about that. And as I said, I don't hate on electric cars. I think they serve a purpose. I think they are here at the right time, and I think that they are great daily drivers. But when we come to this passion that we're talking about, when we're talking about cars, when we're talking about the likes of the Carrera GTs, we're talking about Lamborghinis, Ferraris, all of these which have this distinct sound, look, feel, smell, the vibrations, the gearbox, all of these things combined, which creates an experience. It kind of fades away with electric cars. I see electric cars more of a kind of a tech product. Feel like an iPhone, for example. You have iPhone 15, which has this and that, and then the next version comes out, which has more battery capacity or some newer tech that you can use, better camera, etc. But it's not about driving the car. It's not about the feeling of how to drive the car or revving the engine, getting the sound. How does it work? It kind of goes away. And you don't have to agree with this. It's just my personal opinion that it's not as fun as the old petrol cars, where we got to be engaged in the driving. I feel like if we're talking about Tesla, for example, they're very upfront with self-driving, that the car should be able to drive itself, so there's no longer any kind of human interaction with the driving. And it feels like we're pushing that way, and we're talking about the techie stuff about electric cars, but not what they can actually offer in terms of driving experience. And that's what I am looking for. And therefore I wanted to kind of mention that I hope and I understand that nobody from kind of the EU or any kind of politician will see this video and go like, oh well, this guy is talking about something great. But I would just hope that car manufacturers, like if we take Lamborghini, Ferrari, Pagani and all of these, are still allowed to build cars for the customers that want them, like they are today, without the emissions regulations, without the sound regulations, without all of these things. Because what we need to think about is the people that buys these cars, they don't drive them 100,000 miles. It's a few hundred miles maybe per year where the car is actually being used. But those miles mean very, very much for everyone, and also for the car community. I won't be able to afford a Pagani. I won't be able to afford a Lamborghini. I won't be able to kind of afford a Ferrari either. But for me to just be around these cars, it brings a kind of spark, a spark of motivation to kind of keep pushing. And you don't get that with an electric car, or at least I don't get that with an electric car. There's no like electric car that I feel like, oh, I want to go ahead and buy that. If we take the Rimac Nevera, for example, it's a very impressive car. It's just, I don't get the feeling from it. It's super quick. All these electric cars are super quick. There's nothing there apart from this wee sound, and you get that with every electric car. And the seats might be better in one, and so blah blah blah. But there's just, as I said in the beginning, when you combine these things, the sound, the feel, the vibrations, the smell of the engines and the gearbox, if you have a manual gearbox or a semi-automated or automated, it doesn't really matter, but it's the feel and the experience of driving these cars that make them so special. And I hope that we don't discontinue that completely in the future, because that means cars that are now maybe obtainable for me will continue to rise, because we still have a strong community within the kind of car community, and people that wants to drive and own these special machines that once were created with the maybe larger engines, or maybe it was the first of an era, for example the manual gated V8 Audi R8, or the Carrera GT with the manual gearbox and the wooden knob. It's, yeah, I don't know how to describe it any further, but it's just that special feeling of these cars, and I hope that car manufacturers are allowed to continue that legacy, so we don't have a situation where we only end up with the kind of cars that we have available. Because cars, as you know, they get crashed, they kind of disappear, and the fewer and fewer we have, the more the market will go up, and we won't be able to kind of afford these cars, because there will be someone very rich to buy them, and as the demand is high, the prices will continue to rise, because there will be people that have the money to afford them, and that is a sad truth. So let's talk a little bit about the market then, and I've already touched upon this, but yeah. So I'm currently somewhat financially able to buy some of the cars that I've always dreamed of, like an early version of the Audi R8, no V10 or anything like that, but just an early V8. I can get them around 50,000 euros. The Honda S2000 is one option that I really like. The 9000 RPM, Redline, VTEC engine, rear wheel drive, amazing car, and that is also at a price point where, yes, I could obtain them. And a Porsche 911 997. I've always loved the 911 generations, all back from the 912, 964, and 996 maybe not too much, but then 997, etc. I think they are stunning cars, and I've heard that they're great drivers cars. I've been around Porsches quite a lot, so I know what they're capable of, and it would be very cool to one day own a 911. And if we really are to stretch the kind of financial possibility of buying a supercar, it would be the Ferrari 458. That car for me is, I don't know even how to describe it for you guys, but if we're talking about sports car, I think when you're a kid and you're talking about red sport car, everybody knows that Ferrari is what you're talking about. And the 458 with the naturally aspirated V8, it's the sound it makes, the feel, the looks. I think it still looks good. It still looks super modern, the shape that they made for the 458. It's such an amazing car, and that is a car I've always dreamed of owning. And I don't know, maybe it's possible. I don't know. It's but yeah, coming back then to the market, and what is currently then happening is that these cars are drastically going up in price, and it's going at a speed that I don't think we can kind of imagine. And now I'm gonna take a very extreme kind of example, but I don't know if you've heard about the YouTuber Mark McCann, but he bought a Bugatti Veyron with a broken gearbox for £900,000, and that is just an absurd amount of money, nothing that I even can come close to. But when he was done with that car a half year later, he got it valued to almost £2 million. That's £1.1 million in increased value over the period of 6 months. And as they're no longer making these cars, and there is such a huge demand for them, the prices are increasing like crazy. Take the Lamborghini Murcielago, for example. That's another one that's been increasing like crazy the last couple of years. Just go back 10 years and it would be maybe a 3 million Swedish, then, so 300,000 euro, pound, dollar car. But now, what are they? 7, 8, 900, 1 million even, going at auctions. And it's crazy. It's just super crazy. And I just wanted to kind of finish up this segment with saying I'm super kind of honored and thankful for being able to own just my Honda. I mean, it's such a cool car and I really do love it. Manual gearbox, 420 horsepower, 4-cylinder, sounds awesome, and it gives me that engagement and the kind of car experience that I really like. And you will always be able to chase for more. Like, I will always try and be better, and that's also why I kind of have this YouTube channel, which is great because I can share my thoughts with you guys that watches these videos, and hear your thoughts as well on these topics, because I feel like as car guys we need to come together, because the future is very unknown. We don't know what will happen. Maybe in a few years we all have to be driving electric cars, because there is new regulations, or we will never know, I guess. And we should not go there either. We should try and stay positive of what we have and what we can do. So we're not losing the enthusiast cars. We're slowly losing access to the ones that already exist. I'm just simply hoping that in the future we don't forget what made us love cars in the first place. Because one day a child, maybe your own, will hear a car for the first time, and I hope they get to experience the same feeling that we got when we heard a car for the first time.